The Ultium battery platform is the future of General Motors. GM is betting everything on this electric architecture, and so far the automaker has two Ultium vehicles on the road, the Hummer EV and the Brightdrop Zevo 600. One's for deliveries and the other, well, it's sort of insane. Back here on Earth though, there is this, the Cadillac Lyriq EV, the first electric vehicle from Cadillac based on GM's Ultium system. It starts at $60,000 and has a range of over 300 miles. Pulling off these feats means that, well, potentially Cadillac, maybe they didn't build it up to the standards that we have come to expect from Cadillac in the past few years. Well, you probably shouldn't worry about that. Here inside the vehicle, we have, well, a 33-inch display. Now, it's not three displays behind 33 inches of glass. It's one continuous 33-inch display. Over here on the left, we have controls for the gauge, we have controls for trips monitoring, and of course, we have controls for your lights. Here in the middle, you have your regular dash cluster, and here in the center is the main event, and that is Cadillac's infotainment system, which has been updated. It uses Android Auto now, so you get Android Google services native in the vehicle, which includes, of course, maps. Everyone loves maps, everyone uses maps. You might as well just put maps in your car, and that's what Cadillac has done. It also has all the other things you would expect from Android Automotive, including Google Assistant. I'm not going to use the wake word, instead I'm going to press this button. How far is it to LA?
It's 707 miles to get to Los Angeles by car.
So I'm 707 miles from LA. I happen to be in Utah right now driving this vehicle. And of course you have Google Assistant, so you can use the wake word for that. You also have the Play Store, which is also nice because you have applications that you can download onto the system. It also supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. What is nice about this system is that while it has just the regular, essentially a tablet where you just swipe left and right, the main home screen, it has two things on it, and that is your media and your maps, because according to Cadillac, that's what people want. And according to me, that's exactly what I want. I want to be able to adjust my media, and I want navigation. Everything else is sort of extra, I guess. Down here on the bottom, you have this little cabinet that pops up that has little quick keys, so you can quickly get to your media, to your maps, to drive modes. Now, this is something I don't really like, is the fact that drive modes is in the infotainment system and not a physical button. I would rather have a button where I can switch it from tour to sport to snow and ice. Instead, I have to push a button and then push another button. You also have quick access to charging and other buttons, but you can also move things around. For example, if I want my phone down there, I can just drag it there and boom, now I have quick access to the phone. So that's great. What's also nice is that while right now the background is sort of a dark with a slight tint of blue waves, there will be themes available that you'll be able to download over the air in the future. So the background of your infotainment system can be, well, something else. I don't know what else, but something else in the near future. Outside of the regular tech and whatnot, this inside of the Cadillac Lyriq is actually quite comfortable. It's very luxurious. All the materials, well, almost all the materials feel really nice. It looks nice. It looks beautiful in here. It's just as nice as the exterior. But there is one thing, and that's just plastic thing right here on the side of the center console. Like when you tap it, it makes this weird noise. Now again, this is a pre-production vehicle or early production or whatever you want to call it. So this might get fixed in production, or you just have something you can just do some drumming on while you're driving down the street. Another piece of technology that is supposed to carry over from GM and Cadillac is Super Cruise, which is still the best hands-free driver's assistant system on the market. Still better than Blue Cruise and of course Tesla, which doesn't have a hands-free system. That said, these are pre-production vehicles, or as Cadillac calls them, early productions, which means that some of the tech isn't quite up to date. For example, again, the infotainment system is not up to date. There's two updates between what I'm driving now and what is going to be on production vehicles. And another thing that's missing, Super Cruise. So I don't get to try out Super Cruise on this vehicle. I'm assuming it'll be fine. I haven't had any issues with it on other vehicles, but can't assume anything. But once we have Super Cruise on a production vehicle, we'll be able to try that out. It does have regenerative braking like we've seen on the Bolt and of course on the Hummer EV, but it also has this little extra bit of something that was carryover from the Bolt, and that is this little regenerative braking lever over here on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You just kind of slightly squeeze it. It only has about this much give while you're driving, but once you kind of get used to it, it's actually quite nice to be able to adjust just how much regenerative braking you're using while you're driving. You just kind of squeeze into it. Cadillac is targeting a range of 312 miles for this vehicle, and that is from a battery pack that has 102 kilowatt hours of capacity. Now that is usable capacity. That means if you buy this vehicle, that's the amount of capacity you have, well, all the time. To charge the vehicle, unlike the Hummer EV, which has an 800 volt system, the Lyriq has a 400 volt system, which means it'll charge up to 190 kilowatts, which should be fine for most people, but it is lower than offerings from both Kia and Hyundai. The Cadillac Lyriq does support plug and charge with EVgo, but other charging companies' support is on the way. And if things aren't working out with the charger, you can actually use OnStar and they'll help you out. Charging at home though, that's more impressive with AC charging available up to 19.2 kilowatts from a compatible level 2 charging station. Behind the wheel, the Lyriq is, well, I'm surprised. The Cadillac, this is their first proper EV, and your first proper EV can be a little tough. Yes, they have the power of GM behind them. Yes, they've been building cars that are luxury cars forever, but that first EV, you can just do a good job and have a good car. They've done an excellent job. This thing is quiet, it's smooth. In fact, it's quieter than I think any other Cadillac on the road right now. And a lot of that has to do with it has an EV motor as opposed to internal combustion engine, so you don't get the rattle, you don't get the hum, you don't get any of that from the internal combustion engine. But also, there are like active accelerometers at the four corners with little microphones that listen to the road noise, and then there's noise canceling in the vehicle that actually, well, phase that out. So all the road noise you're supposed to be hearing in this vehicle is gone. They've phased it out. So you end up with probably the quietest Cadillac on the road and probably the quietest vehicle under $100,000 on the road. It's just really, it's maybe a little eerie, but it's really, really nice. If you have somebody in your family that wants to take a nap, by all means, have a nap in the Cadillac Lyriq. It's very quiet in here. Now the powertrain, it is a single rear-wheel drive motor for this vehicle. It has 340 horsepower and 325 pound-feet of torque. It is not a speed demon, it's not a rocket, it's not a Tesla, it's not a Taycan, it is not an e-tron GT, but when you do need to get an accelerator, you still get the fun little bit of EV torque, but it's not over the top, it's not ostentatious, it's not going to wow a lot of people. Instead, it is almost perfectly tuned for what Cadillac wants from this vehicle. They want a nice luxury EV that'll get you from point A to point B in style. Starting at $60,000, the Lyriq is a bit of a bargain in the luxury EV SUV market, but that does come with a caveat. Just like Tesla, GM no longer qualifies for the federal tax credit, which means, well, as far as the federal government's concerned, you have to pay full price for this. Now, there still might be state and local incentives for you, but if you want to buy this Caddy, you're not going to get that sweet, sweet $7,500 federal tax credit. Top to bottom, the Lyriq is exactly what Cadillac and GM need right now. An Ultium powered EV that isn't the huge Hummer or a commercial van that, while important, won't be available to customers. The Lyriq's got a great design, enough range for nearly everyone, and most importantly for Cadillac customers, it's luxurious.